Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Crimemas Day 1. And yes, you heard that right. I am doing Vlogmas True Crime style, which means I will be uploading a new true crime video every single day from December 1st to December 24th. However, this will not be in my usual get ready with me format, and instead, I will only be telling you guys the story with my makeup already done, as this allows me to film multiple videos in one sitting. And this is also a way for me to avoid my face from completely falling off from too much makeup. Having that said, today we will be talking about a case that left the Filipino people scratching their heads. Today we will be discussing the brutal and still unsolved murder of veteran actress Nida Blanca. Born as Dorothy Jones on January 6, 1936 in Nueva Ecija to a Filipina mother and an American soldier father, Nida Blanca had always dreamt of being an actress someday. She was extremely beautiful and had quite the talent. So at the age of 15, she was discovered by an actress named Delia Razon and was cast in her first film. She did a few minor roles before reigning as Queen of Films at LVN Pictures, one of the biggest film studios in the history of Philippine cinema at the time. Now, she was given the stage name Nida Blanca because of her extremely fair skin. And in Spanish, Blanca means white. In her career that spanned for over 50 years, Nida Blanca starred in a total of 163 films and 17 television shows. One of her most notable works was the television show John and Marcia, where she starred alongside Philippine comedy king Dolphy. This show was so successful that it aired on television for 17 years. So this was from 1973 all the way to 1990. And just a side note, my grandpa absolutely adored this show. In fact, he loved this show so much that he actually named our pet rabbits John and Marcia after Dolphy and Nida Blanca's characters. Now, Nida Blanca also received a total of 49 awards and was named as one of the top 15 best Filipina actresses of all time. At the later part of her career, she also started working for the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or the MTRCB, where she would attend screenings and rate movies at least twice a week. In her personal life, Nida Blanca was a doting mother to her only child. She had a daughter named Kay with her first husband, Victorino Torres. However, they separated when Kay was only 2 years old. Nida then remarried in 1979 to an American singer and actor named Rod Strunk. Now, for 5 decades, Nida Blanca was a household name in the Philippines. Anyone and everyone knew who she was, and she was adored by fans of all ages. And that's probably why the entire nation went into shock on November 7th, 2001, when it was reported that Nida Blanca was found brutally murdered in the back of her own vehicle. Her body was found at around 8 a.m. by a security guard who was doing his rounds in the 6th floor of the Atlanta Center parking lot in Green Hills. And once help arrived, it was already too late, as Nida had already been dead for a few hours. She received a total of 13 stab wounds, with the most fatal one being a jab to her neck that severed her jugular vein. Dorothy Jones, or better known as Nida Blanca, was only 65 years old. It was then revealed that the night prior to this, Nida was supposed to attend a funeral in Forbes Park at around 11 p.m. Her personal assistant, Elena, came looking for her in her MTRCB office, in that very same building that she was later found in. Nida was nowhere to be found, and no one seemed to have an idea where she was or who she was with. And one of the security guards told Elena that Nida's car was still parked on the 6th floor. And thinking that she must have gotten a ride with a friend, Elena came home at around 11:30 p.m. to inform Rod that she wasn't in her office. Now, the guard that found her body, on the other hand, checked her car specifically not only because it was left there overnight, but because there was a trail of a dark liquid leading to the car. And this dark liquid was soon identified and confirmed to be Nida's blood. Now, I am not sure where this trail started or came from, but this made the investigators believe that Nida was killed someplace else and that she was just put in the back of her car afterwards. Now, autopsy reports also show that some of the wounds she had received were done post-mortem, meaning her attacker kept on going, even though she had already passed away. It really seems like a very personal attack, and whoever had done this had quite the resentment against the beloved veteran actress. A hematoma or a blood clot was also found on one of her eyes, as well as some broken ribs, making the authorities speculate that she was beaten first prior to the stabbing. There were no defense wounds on her body, and there were no signs of a struggle found inside the vehicle. So it is highly likely that she was beaten until she was unconscious, then stabbed 13 times before being placed inside of her own car. Now, of course, due to her popularity and the brutality of this murder, this case made major headlines, and the entire country was baffled. The Philippine National Police, or PNP, then formed Task Force Marcia to lead the investigation. However, the question still remains. Who did this to her and why? Let's talk about some theories on this case. The first one being the casino connection conspiracy. There are plenty of versions of this theory, so please bear with me as we dive into these one by one. In version A, it is said that Nida had a former movie star friend that operated a money lending business specifically for gamblers, and that this friend got extremely sick, and that he or she had entrusted Nida with the list of people who owed the business money. And since this involved a large sum of payments to be collected, this may have compromised Nida's safety. In version B, it is theorized that Nida owed a large debt to a casino funding syndicate, and she was killed as revenge for not paying the money that she owed. In version C, it is suggested that Nida Blanca herself led this money lending scam, and someone who owed her money killed her in order to avoid paying his or her debts off. Now, none of this was ever confirmed to be true. Everything is just a speculation, just to clarify. However, according to a few witness testimonies, Nida Blanca was seen in Casino Filipino the night before her body was discovered. She was said to have been with her close friend of 30 years, Candelaria Tantoco, who was also a frequent companion of Nida in different casinos, allegedly. However, Candelaria Tantoco completely denied these claims, saying that she was not with Nida that night and she had spent her whole evening at home. Now, a completely different theory was that Nida Blanca was killed after threatening to expose and testify against a female friend for estafa, or criminal fraud charges. However, this angle led to nowhere and is not a very well-known theory, or is the least talked about assumption in this case. However, the most popular and probably the most believed theory, at least for the public during that time, was the allegations that Nida's husband, Rod Strunk, was the mastermind behind the murder. Rumors started to spread that Nida and Rod had marital issues, and that Nida was planning to file for an annulment. It was also revealed that Nida had removed Rod from her will, leaving all of her assets to her only daughter, Kay. Now, it is theorized that once Nida informed Rod of her plans for legal separation, he hired a hitman to kill her because if she dies before the marriage was officially terminated, Rod, as her husband, would be legally entitled to a portion of Nida's wealth, despite her last will and testament stating otherwise. As I have mentioned, Nida Blanca was an extremely successful actress that had a career that spanned for 5 decades. She was extremely wealthy. She had properties worth 85 million pesos, which included an upscale condo unit in Green Hills worth 10 million pesos and a house in California worth $300,000. And this was way back in 2001. Imagine how much those properties would cost these days. And aside from this, Rod was also suspected of using drugs and being violent towards his wife. However, this was denied by a close friend of Nida's, saying that if she was indeed a battered wife, at least one of her closest friends would have known. Now, naturally, Rod Strunk became the prime suspect in the case, and things only got worse from him from there when a guy named Philip Medell surrendered himself to Task Force Marcia on November 19th, just 12 days after the gruesome discovery, and confessed to killing Nida Blanca. According to Medell, he was hired by Rod Strunk via a middleman named Mike Martinez. He was picked up by Rod from an undisclosed location on the evening of November 6th, after which they had dinner at a restaurant to talk about their plan. They then drove to Atlanta Center where Nida's MTRCB office was. Rod then gave a duplicate key of Nida's vehicle to Philip Medell, and this is where he waited for her. A few hours after this, Rod came back to the parking lot, but this time, Nida Blanca and another woman was with him. Nida and Rod were said to have been arguing over money matters, and this is when Rod, the woman, and Philip Medell started to beat Nida Blanca up, explaining the black eye and broken ribs found on her during the autopsy. A Swiss Army knife and umbrella were determined to be the murder weapon. These were also the two pieces of key evidence that would place Rod at the scene of the crime. A receipt revealed that the Swiss Army knife was bought by Rod just 2 days prior to the murder. And that umbrella, according to multiple witnesses well known to the couple, would always be kept in Rod's van. So what was it doing in Nida's sedan? However, on the day that Nida Blanca's body was discovered, this umbrella was found inside her vehicle with her blood on it. According to a close friend of Nida's, that umbrella wasn't there on November 5th. Now, this already seems like enough evidence to finally solve this case. However, Philip Medell then retracted his confession just a few days later, saying that he had nothing to do with the crime and that he was tortured to confess to a crime that he didn't commit. However, Task Force Marcia did not believe this at all, as numerous medical tests were conducted on Medell and no signs of physical torture were ever found. The retraction of his confession was also done publicly and not under oath. Therefore, they were still going to use his statement for filing the case. In 2002, Rod Strunk returned to the United States to visit his dying mother and never returned to the Philippines. This is where he was charged with Nida Blanca's murder in 2003. He was arrested in his home and was detained in Sacramento County Jail after the Philippine government filed for an extradition for him to stand trial in the Philippines. Now, the U.S. court denied this request and Rod Strunk was immediately released from prison. The Philippine government, along with Task Force Marcia, filed for a second extradition, but did not receive any response from the U.S. government. Now, Rod Strunk, who is widely believed to have been Nida Blanca's murderer, lived as a free man until July 11th, 2007, when he committed suicide by jumping off the second-floor balcony of the Tracy Inn in California. In 2008, Nida Blanca's daughter Kay stated that after 7 years, the criminal case was still pending trial and that she believed that her stepfather, Rod Strunk, and Philip Medell were both guilty. Philip Medell remained a suspect and stayed in jail until his death on April 7, 2010, at the age of 62. He died of sepsis secondary to pneumonia at the Philippine General Hospital. Now, the middleman mentioned by Medell, however, was never found and is also believed to be dead. And sadly, this case still remains unsolved and will probably never come to a close. But let's be real here, in the eyes of the Filipino, or at least the vast majority, this is a closed case and we know who had the motive in committing this heinous crime. And we are all aware of who would benefit the most in Nida's untimely death. Nida Blanca was definitely a great loss to the industry. She is still remembered and honored up to this day by her colleagues and fans and will hold that legacy forever. And that is all that I have for you guys for today's video. As usual, I would love to hear your thoughts on this case, and should there be any other case that you would like for me to cover on this channel, please leave a comment below. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Nida Blanca's story, and I will see you guys tomorrow.